Are kicking back and enjoying summer break, but being out of school means less time with books and more time on social media. Here with more on the harmful effects of social media is Montgomery District Attorney Azzie Oliver. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's really hard these days to not allow your children some sort of access to devices and social media. What should parents be doing to make sure their kids stay safe?
Number one, they should have access to their children's accounts, access to their passwords, make sure they know who they're communicating with, and have an open line of communication with their children, not to be communicating with strangers and putting too much information on social media.
I'll hear parents say, I want to give my children some privacy. But at that age, you really need to be checking what they're doing.
They're still growing. They're still growing physically, social development, mentally. And what you don't want is them being affected, being exposed to subjects and things earlier than they need to be.
You talked about that open line of communication between parents and children. How do you accomplish that?
It used to be a time where families sat down for dinner to eat, and it was not so much about what you ate, but it was about communicating with your family members, knowing what's happening in their day, knowing what's going on with them, knowing what's upset them. And so parents have just kind of gotten away from communication with their child, and I make it a point to, even though I have a child that works, I need to lay eyes on her every day and communicate with her every day.
What sort of dangers do parents and teens need to be aware of when it comes to social media? And we say teens, but younger children are using social media these days.
Correct. We need to be aware of predators who seek out children or seek out victims through social media.
It can also be a place where strangers just don't come after your children, people they know. It can be a line for bullying as well.
Right, they're a bully, and the thing about social media is that used to be when we were bullied, when we were growing up, we could go home and get away from it, where with social media you cannot. There's all kind of cyberbullying and harassment over social media.
And there's been all kinds of research that talk about the impacts of social media on mental health when it comes to children as well.
That's children and adults as well.
And it's not, children handle things differently. Not everybody is built the same. Some of us can take a little more than others, but does it need to be a hard line with some of your kids that, hey, you know what, you just can't handle this?
Right, if they're not mature enough to handle it, if they're not showing, displaying the right actions with social media, it's best to just remove it, to take it away from them.
What are some of the consequences you have seen in your office when it comes to social media use in children?
Again, that unwanted harassment that's continuously 24 hours a day, as well as, we've lost a student some years ago to suicide based upon him being bullied.
And I've heard some parents say, if I just checked their social media, I would have known something was wrong and I could have stepped in.
I hear that all the time, yes. If social media, you can get clues as to what's going on with your child. So it's extremely important that you have an open line of communication with your child. Tell them to let you know when something's inappropriate, something doesn't make them, or they feel threatened.
You have been vocal about a rise in teen violence, not just here in our area, but across the country. What role do you think social media plays in that?
It plays a devastating role. Again, social media is a unique opportunity, but it also, those who do evil things can use social media to commit crimes. You often see teenagers displaying firearms on social media, displaying money, drugs on social media, and it's just not positive. Not just social media, but anything your child listens to, the music, you need to pay special attention to, because you become what you listen to and what you allow into your mind.
What goes into your eyes and ears affects your mind and affects your heart.
That is correct, and if it's true for an adult, it's definitely true for a child.
And our children are precious. We need to protect them. Just last week, a 13-year-old girl was shot and killed while she slept in her home. That should not happen.
Yes.
It should never happen. How alarming is that for you?
It is extremely frustrating. It's a tragedy, because Diamond was doing what she was supposed to do. She was in the bed sleeping at that time of night, and to be killed in the safety of your own home in that way, it's just outrageous.
Yes, the mayor said her family, she should be enjoying summer break.
That's correct.
Like every other child.
That's correct.
But now her family's planning her funeral.
They're planning her funeral, and it's just something you just don't get over.
The police chief talked about that case and crime in general in a news conference this morning. He called it a difficult weekend. Would you agree with that?
Definitely difficult, but Montgomery, we're in a crisis mode, not to cause people to get scared, but just to get all hands on deck in addressing the crime problem in Montgomery.
The chief talked about efforts of his office to keep people here in the capital city safe. How is your office working alongside MPD in those efforts?
We collaborate. If they have questions about a case or they have leads, they often come to us to get search warrants through the court system, through the judge. They often come to us to try and fight bond reductions and allowing criminals to be on the street. So I pledge all the resources in my office to find out who did this.
Is that frustrating for you? Because we will often see someone arrested for a crime and it's a name that we've seen before. I know you've seen it before. Extremely
frustrating. Adults, they're hard to change. If they've chosen violence for one incident, they're going to automatically choose violence for the next incident. And so I think they remain, if it's a violent crime, they need to remain in jail.
You held a roundtable discussion. You were part of that with several other law enforcement officials recently, and you said we have to get to our kids before 5th grade. We're losing them by that point.
Right. My dad's always told me that children by 12 years old, they've been raised. They know right from wrong, and they've been raised. I've been in a classroom at King Elementary, 5th grade, and I've learned that we have to get to them before 5th grade, probably 3rd grade is what I'm thinking. So they can have positive contact with law enforcement, can be taught about conflict resolution, can be taught about drugs, be taught about the avoiding being victims of crime.
Yeah, parents, you said they're raised by the time they hit 12 years old. Parents need to be raising our children, and that goes back to that social media again, because they're getting raised by these outside influences.
Right. It's time for parents to be parents. If the parents aren't teaching them anything, the streets are going to teach them.
You can't do this alone.
No, ma'am.
MPD cannot do this alone. What do we need to do as a community to walk alongside you and help in these efforts?
Volunteer. Volunteer in our school system, volunteer with people who already have programs going. If you have a talent in a certain area, think outside the box how you can join in and help this fight on crime.
District Attorney Azzie Oliver, thank you so much. We know you care about this community, especially the children, because they are our future.
Absolutely.